Greetings, family. Welcome to the East Bay Center for the Performing Arts online courses. My name is Ezra Bristow, and it is my pleasure to be the instructor for our beginning Samba Fusion dance class. In this class, we will be exploring some of the fundamentals of Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Brazilian dances, and why in this particular case we chose to make it a fusion course is because it is focused on a lens of carnival and carnival dances and celebrations which are celebrated across the African diaspora. And so throughout the program we'll be exploring not only the movements and the music but also the culture that ties them together. Greetings, students! Our first stop on our transatlantic journey is to Salvador, Bahia. Now, Salvador is located in the country of Brazil, which is in South America. The reason why it's important that we study the art forms of Brazil, and in particular Salvador, Bahia, is because Bahia is the home to the second largest population of African people outside of the continent of Africa. This is important because unlike other parts of the world where people immigrated voluntarily, between the 1500s and the 1800s, millions of Africans were kidnapped and brought to the New World as a part of the transatlantic slave trade. Also known as the Triangle Trade in the Middle Passage, it was a grueling experience in which millions of Africans from different tribes were taken from their homeland and their families and then forced to work in other parts of the world. Now, when they were brought to Salvador, Bahia, many of them did not speak the same language, but because they were from similar regions of West Africa, they learned how to use music, particularly the drum, to communicate. This gave birth to Samba, the national music of Brazil, which is a combination of the African cultural traditions for combat disguised as dance, for celebrations of community wellness and joy, for honoring their ancestors as well as their local gods. In Yoruba culture, those gods were called the Orisha, and the Orisha had corresponding music and dances that were meant to honor them. However, many of the European powers feared that the Africans would start a rebellion if they practiced their music, and so the Africans had to disguise their art forms and their culture and their traditions through Christianity and Catholicism. Over time, Samba, like many other art forms, evolved from being a purely spiritual religious celebration to one that has come to represent the musical and national identity of Brazil. This is where we come in. In Brazil, Carnival is a lively celebration of both African and European traditions meant to uplift joy and celebration for their emancipation. And in Samba in particular, the blocos of Brazil are where everybody gets together. One such gathering is called the Roda, which means the circle in Portuguese. So what we're going to be studying next is a little bit about the music of the Samba de Roda. When we studied the music of the Samba de Roda, we are also looking at the culture of the Roda itself. The Roda, which translates roughly to wheel or circle, is a key component of the Afro-Brazilian martial arts known as capoeira and the traditional samba. Like many African-derived and inspired art forms, the central concept of the Roda is community. It is a circle around which drumming and dancing and celebration all occurs intertwined. So now that we have introduced the Roda a little bit, let's talk about the music. In the Roda, there is a bateria. In the bateria, much like a marching band's drum line, the bateria controls the tempo and the flow of the entire proceeding. However, they are also in the circle and in the Roda and in the community with the dancers and are responsive to them. Now let's take a look at just a few of the instruments that are used in a typical Samba de Roda bateria. First, we have the atabaque. Next, we have the pandero. Then we have the berimbau. And lastly, we have the agogo. Now let's put it all together. Now that we've learned a little bit about the instruments that make up the Roda, let's start working on some of the dance moves. We're going to begin this section with the warm-up that I do with all of my classes. So anytime we learn how to dance, I want you guys to start with this warm-up. You ready? Let's go. Don't forget to count on a beat. All right? Let's try it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Now, one of the most important parts about teaching an art form, especially a cultural art form, is understanding the history and the culture that it's coming from. And so, in these videos, as I'm breaking down the Samba de Roda steps, I will be counting in Portuguese. And that way you guys get to understand a feel for the culture, you get a little bit more knowledge about the language as well. So, the basic Samba step is about 3 movements just of the feet and the hips. Now we're going to focus on the feet first, and it's going to go like this. When I say dois, três, that is the 1, 2, 3 of the Samba step, okay? Now it goes first on your right foot, back, then you shift your weight back to the left foot, front, and then center. All right? Back, front, center. Back, front, center. Back, front, center. Okay? Now, we're going to focus on moving our hips and those isolations that we did in the warm-up exercise with our feet. So the hip pivots, switches out, and it shifts. Your weight shifts to the right hip, then to the left hip, then right, then left, right, left. Again. Right, left, right, and left, right, left. Very good. All right, so let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, very good. Now we're going to continue, and we're going to do Samba de Roda, so that is going backwards. Now we're going to try to go forwards, all right? And it's the same 3 steps, but you're going to go forward motion. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Very good. This is going back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to move to the front. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, now focus on the feet. All right, now we're going to go back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to go to the front. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, very good. So we're going to do this combination. It's going to go 8 towards the back, 8 towards the front, 8 in a circle to the right, 8 in a circle towards the left, and then we're going to pick up the tempo. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that we got down to basics, we're gonna try a couple combinations because the best way to learn is to practice. Baiana me pega, me leva pro samba, eu sou do samba, eu vim sambar. Lelele, baiana, e a baiana me deu sinal. Lelele, baiana, pra dançar o carnaval. Lelele, baiana, também joga capoeira. Lelele, baiana, Angolia regional. Lelele, baiana, oi a baiana que deu sinal. Lelele, baiana, pra dançar o carnaval. Lelele, baiana, a baiana me pega, me leva no samba, eu sou do samba, eu vou sambar. You guys are doing an awesome job. Practice, practice, practice. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon for the next lesson. Ciao.